Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Halala Promaths, halala.
Halala.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. And once again, thank you and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the LGBTQI plus community, brothers and sisters. I thank you for the opportunity and thank you for tuning in. We live in a world where the competition for limited resources and opportunities has become tougher than ever before. The rate of youth unemployment in our country is heartbreaking. So I wonder what it is going to take for you and I to succeed in such a context. Well, I think that those who are going to succeed in this context are the ones who are going to put something extra on the table that others are not willing to put. The ones who are going to make an extra effort to stand out from the crowd so that they can be easily recognized by those in positions to give them opportunities to make a contribution in this world. And when I speak about putting something on the table, I'm not talking about bribery for jobs. I'm talking about showing a little bit more of enthusiasm, showing a bit more effort, showing the hunger and the determination to succeed. And with that says, it gives me great pleasure this morning to address you on the topic of professional branding and professional communication. So what is a brand? I think we need to start there. Well, there are many accepted definitions of what a brand is out there, but a brand is generally a name given to a product or a service with a unique identity. And the key word here is unique. Your favorite smartphone, your favorite car, your favorite shoe, your favorite drink is a brand. And all of us are unique. We are born unique. And that's why even there by home affairs, our fingerprints are different because we are all born unique. So as we talk about professional branding, we first need to start by talking about personal branding. And personal branding refers to the self. Recognizing yourself as a brand will lead to you developing a successful professional brand. I still remember my first professional interview like it happened yesterday. I was wearing my silver gray 21st birthday suit, and I had been invited by this public relations company in Sandton. And I was invited by a lady named Michelle David, which I have never met before. I had never met before that invitation for that interview. And on that particular day where I was invited for that interview, I had a very simple strategy. And my strategy was, as Michelle welcomed me into the building, I'm going to introduce myself in such a way that I sell my brand within the few first seconds of meeting her. That was my strategy. And I remember very well walking up to the third floor of that building in Sandton on that day, looking very confident as I normally make an effort to do so. And I got to the third floor, and there I was received by a beautiful lady named Tembi. And I still remember her offering my very first ever cup of cappuccino. I'll never forget that day. And there I sipped on my first cup of cappuccino. And as I was waiting for Michelle, Tembi and I were talking about the weather, the politics of the time, and other things in between. And a couple of moments later, here came an executively dressed lady. And there I thought the moment of truth has finally arrived. As this lady was coming through, I was sitting next to the exit door and facing the corridor. So everybody coming from the offices was facing me. And my strategy was quite simple. I'm going to walk up to this lady. Before she says anything, I'm going to introduce myself to her, shake her hand firmly, introduce myself and tell her how passionate I am about communications and working for this organization would not be a waste on their part, but in fact a contribution, as I'm going to bring my skills and abilities in helping them to achieve their strategies. And that was the strategy I had. So as this lady came through executively dressed, I walked up to her, shook her hand, and did all of that as an introduction to sell my personal brand within those few first seconds. And after having said all of those things, you know, I could see that this lady was so impressed until she said something that left me feeling very embarrassed. She says, young man, it is a pleasure to meet you. Unfortunately, I'm not the person you are here to meet. And as you can imagine, I was so embarrassed because I had just poured my heart out to someone who had nothing to do with my interview. This was just a stranger walking out of the building. So you can imagine the walk of shame I had to take back to my seat as I had to wait for the right person once more. But you know what they say, when you fall, you have to dust yourself up and you keep on walking. And I had to do that. I dusted myself up and I had to regain my confidence thanks to Tembi and her conversations that kept me motivated and comfortable. A few moments later, here comes another executively dressed lady. And I'm thinking as I'm sitting there, should I still go ahead with this plan or not? But you know what they say about plan A's and plan B's? They say the best fights are fought by those without a plan B. And that was my only plan. That was my only strategy to sell my personal brand within those few seconds. So I had to stand up once more and carry on and stick to my strategy. So there I was, as this lady was coming through. I go up to her, I shake her hand firmly, I introduce myself, I tell her how passionate I am about the PR industry and that hiring me would not be a waste, but in fact a gain. And I could see the smile when she says to me, welcome to Magna Carta. And I was so relieved to know that this time around, it was the right lady. So she invited me into the meeting room. And as we got there, it was her and a lady by the name of Karina, who was to be my manager if I got the opportunity. And Michelle says something as we were about to begin with the interview, which left me feeling very positive and motivated before the interview could start. She says to me, Nicholas, I must tell you, you come highly recommended. Now, when somebody says you come highly recommended, it means then somebody has said something positive about you before you even arrived, that somebody has put in a good word for you on your behalf. There I was wondering who could have possibly said something positive about me, because first of all, I don't have an uncle in the industry. I don't know anyone that could have possibly given me a positive remark for me to get that opportunity. But nonetheless, I was excited inside, of course, and we just carried on with the interview. And I promise you, the interview lasted not more than 15 minutes. We were done. Got onto a taxi home, 10, 15, 20 minutes into a taxi, I get a phone call from the same lady who just interviewed me, Michelle. She says to me, Nicholas, I'm happy to inform you that you were successful in your interview. The job is yours. I was one of the happiest people on the planet, possibly on that day. And the following year, as I came to report for duty at this company, I discovered something that changed my life forever. I discovered that that lady that I introduced myself incorrectly to in the beginning when I thought she was the HR manager was in fact the CEO of that company. And I discovered that as this lady exited the building, the first thing she did was to call the HR manager, who was Michelle, and she said to Michelle, I have just met a young man at the main reception. I don't care who that young man is. You give him that job. And just like that, I was hired by the chief executive officer of one of the leading public relations companies in Southern Africa. And as they say, the rest is history. So why am I sharing this? How is this relevant to this talk of professional branding, personal branding, and professional communication? Well, it's because I've learned one or two things from that small encounter. I have learned that your personal brand is your biggest asset. Your reputation is your biggest asset. Ka Sepedi ba re maitshwaro a motho a mabotse a lota seriti sa gagwe. So it's very important to take care of your personal brand because that is your biggest asset. And as I talk about you possibly positioning yourself in this competitive world as someone that potential employers and potential investors can look at in a positive way, I dare say to you today that social media is your new curriculum vitae. Social media is your new CV, like it or not. You can't separate yourself from the posts that you make on your Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. I often meet a lot of young people who say, you know, what I do on social media versus who I am in real life are two separate things. They're on Facebook, we're just joking around, it's nothing serious. Well, gone are those days. Gone are those days where you can put together a CV that is so professionally crafted. And then when we go onto your social media, we see a completely different person to the one that is appearing on this CV. Gone are those days. Today, employers have got the privilege of going onto your social media. In addition to having received your CV, they go onto your social media there by simply typing in your name in the Google search bar, and there the results come through. They come across you in your bottles of alcohol, they come across you in your crop tops and all of that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with crop tops, but remember, all of this is your personal brand. This is your brand packaging. So it's very important that as you interact on these social media streets, you realize that you are building a personal brand that other people perceive. And you need to ask yourself, is this brand being perceived positively or negatively? Very important. Take a young lady very recently who was interested in becoming Miss SA. And this young lady was almost there to be shortlisted until somebody went onto their Twitter account and they discovered very distasteful posts from when she was only 14 years old. And these were posts, we're talking about racial remarks, body shaming other people, you know, distasteful jokes. And as a result of that, the competition had to eliminate her because such posts were bringing the organization and the beauty contest into disrepute. Nobody wants to associate themselves with people who are not responsible with their own brand. So imagine your whole future, your whole dreams and aspirations being defined by a simple, stupid tweet you made when you were only 14 years old. So it's very important that as you interact on these social media streets, you remember that you are not just interacting there. That is your personal brand. Take care of it. I can also think about another example of a lady from the US. As she was about to get onto a plane to Africa, she tweeted what she thought back then was a funny tweet. She says, "I'm going to Africa. I hope I don't catch AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white." She posted that tweet. 11 hours later, she landed it at Cape Town International Airport. As she opens her email, she discovers that she was fired by a company. Why? Because nobody wants to associate their brand, which they've worked so hard for, with people who don't take their own personal brands seriously. So think long and hard before you post that funny tweet or comment on Facebook. May be funny today, it may gain you a lot of likes and make you popular on social media, but what is it doing to your personal brand? Is it positioning you for opportunities out there for people to see and want to be associated with you or not? Think very carefully. Is it kind? Is it truthful? Is it worth it? Is it necessary? Think about that in relation to your personal brand. You know, social media is a powerful tool that you and I today can use positively to build our positive personal brands, because social media has leveled the playing field. You don't need to be on a national newspaper today to be famous. You could be famous through your Facebook posts, your Twitter posts, your YouTube channel where you showcase your writing skills, poetic skills, acting skills, or other talents on YouTube. And that's where your potential employer or potential investor might find you. So use this beautiful gift that Mark Zuckerberg has blessed us with to your own advantage. There's no point in just making people laugh, but in the end, you are the one who's going to be in trouble because nobody, no brand out there want to be associated with you. So think very carefully around how you use social media in building your personal brand, which will lead to a professional brand that other people want to be associated with. Point number 2 is around participation in campus life. As a student, you are on your way there, you've not quite graduated. And I know it's important to focus on your book, but as they say, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. We live in a competitive world. So what makes you stand out from the crowd? In a class of 150 students, if there was one job opportunity from a reputable, exciting company to work for, what would make them choose you over all of these other people? Because you are basically studying the same course. You are learning the same thing. But what is it that makes you stand out from the crowd? What's going to help you stand out from the crowd is adding something to your CV that others don't have. And you can do that while you are studying. Simple thing is by being active on campus activities. And when I say being active with campus activities, I'm not talking about partying only, but I'm talking about striking a balance between your academics and social life. Become a well-rounded individual. I have had the privilege of interacting with young people who are so brilliant. You know, when you look at their CV and academic record, they're so brilliant. They've got distinctions all the way from first year until their final year. But when it's time to have a conversation with them to get to know them better, they're not so articulate, they're shy, they don't have the confidence, not so persuasive. And then you get somebody with half their marks, but they are so confident, they believe in themselves, and they end up getting the job. So what happened? It's because at the end of the day, as much as you can get a cum laude or distinctions when you graduate, you are not going to be working with those distinctions. You are going to work with people in the world of work. So it is important that whilst you are still studying, engage with other people, network with other people, learn from other people, make a friend from a different culture, from a different background, so that they can teach you things that no book can teach you. And when you enter the world of work, you've already got exposure to a different type of life. And you don't find it difficult to adjust to different and difficult situations. It's very important. When I was at university, I served as the chairperson of the UJ Students Public Relations Association. I tutored, I was class rep. I always volunteered for all of those things. And that has enhanced a lot of soft skills in me. Leadership, teamwork, self-confidence, public speaking, you name it. And these are skills that I wouldn't have gained under normal circumstances in a classroom. So it's very important that you strike a balance between your academics and a social life so that you become a well-rounded person, a well-rounded personal brand. And I'm not saying that don't focus on your books. It's very important to excel academically, take your studies seriously, but remember at the end of the day, you're not going to be working with those distinctions. You're going to work with people out there. So it's very important that you work towards being a well-rounded person that other people can find easy to relate with and easy to understand. Point number 3, your dress code is your way of telling the world who you are without saying a word. I could have worn a very simple t-shirt today because we are doing this virtually. We're not getting physical with one another. But I had to look a bit smart casual because I take my personal brand seriously and I understand this is going to be recorded. So I don't want to be looking at that video 10 years time from now and feeling like, oh my goodness, what did I look like? I take my personal brand very seriously. So always, as part of your brand packaging, dress for the occasion, dress for your day. And I'm not saying go and buy expensive clothes. I'm saying take care of your brand. Each and every brand, they make an effort to make it look outstanding and stand out from the crowd. Just like you can't go to a banking job in short pants, you should not go to a construction site in a suit and tie because you are sending the wrong message. And they say first impressions last. So it's very important that your brand packaging is such that people want to be associated with. I don't have a problem with your crop top, ladies. It's okay, but there's a time and place for everything. Just like I can't go to a club wearing a suit and tie. I wouldn't expect you to go and meet clients at a banking environment in your mini skirt. There's nothing wrong with your mini skirt, but context. Context. Is that how you want your brand to be perceived? I don't know, but the choice is yours. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Brand association is so important. As they say, bad company corrupts good morals. When I was younger, my parents would say, we don't want you to play with those boys. And I'd say, why? They'd say, because they are naughty. And in response, I'd say, but I'm not naughty. I'm just chilling with them. But that's not the point. The point is when the police come through, they're not going to ask who was naughty and who wasn't. They're going to snatch all of us. And that's brand association. Who's around you? What type of people are around you? What positive contribution are they making to your brand? Are they enhancing it? If not, I think you need to think carefully around the people that you associate with. It's very important. Nobody wants to be associated with brands that don't add value to their own brands. Have you ever wondered why people like Mark Zuckerberg don't wear any branded clothes? I've always wondered. The guy is always wearing plain t-shirts. It's not because he can't afford branded t-shirts. And he didn't tell me this, but I think it's because he himself recognizes that he's a personal brand. And him associating with clothing brands like your Gucci or Louis Vuitton would suggest that he is endorsing another clothing brand. And guess what's going to happen to the sales at Gucci when we see Mark Zuckerberg, who graced us with a beautiful platform like Facebook? The sales are going to go up at Gucci because people want to be associated with good things. So I think the reason why he never wears all of those is because he realizes himself that he's a brand and he would rather have a plain t-shirt that doesn't say anything. Unless they enter into a formal contract with Gucci that says, you are going to be our ambassador. And of course, that would come with financial benefits. You know what I mean? So it's very important the way in which you surround yourself with people that are going to add value into your life. Always associate yourself with people that challenge you, people that inspire you, so that when you leave after engaging with them, you never feel like the same person. You feel challenged and compelled to be a different person. It's very important as part of building that professional brand. And remember, as they say, it's not always what you know, but who you know that will get you that dream job sometimes. It's very true. Referrals, recommendations. Sometimes people can experience you at a dinner because of the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you interact with them, them listening to your thoughts, and they think, wow, this young lady or this young man is brilliant. I know of a friend who's a CEO, an HR manager somewhere, who's looking for people like this. And that's how you sometimes get a call from a random HR person saying, we've heard quite good things about you. Would you like to come through for an interview for us to get to know you better? It's because your brand association. It's because of the people around you that have said good things about you, that would recommend you. So always make sure that you surround yourself with positive people, with positive vibes. And I often get young people who say, Nick, I have applied for a certain position at this company. Would you please recommend me? I've put you as one of my references there. I don't have a problem with that. If I know you too well, I'm happy to give you a recommendation. But remember that if I get that call and I put in a good word for you and you go and get that job and you end up messing up, guess where it's going to come back to? comes back to me. And what does that say about my brand? They're not going to say, you have messed up. They're going to say, Nicholas Marco recommended this person. What does that say about me? So brand association is very important. Bad company corrupts good morals. So do a bit of a survey around the people around your brand. How are they influencing it? You may say, no, but it's their lives and this is my life. But when we look at you, what do we see in relation to what these other people are doing? That's why companies today have the power, even in the contract, when you join employment, they have a clause that says you can't bring our company into disrepute. I could say something in this talk today that puts my employer in an awkward position. And I could be fired when I report for duty on Monday because I would have said something that puts my company into disrepute. Because people are not only going to look at me as an individual, but they're going to say, he even works for this company. So what does that say about that company? And I could be fired for the things that I say or the thoughts that I hold. So brand association is very important. Always think about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you are brands. Start speaking like brands. Professional communication. No brand would just go around talking like a layman in the streets. They always craft their messages in such a way that they are well considered, that when you listen, you can see there's been a lot of thought that went into the statement. You are also a brand. When you speak, make sure that you've considered all factors. Don't just speak for the sake of entertaining your friends. At the end of the day, this is your personal brand. Protect it. Your reputation is your biggest asset. Take care of it. In the professional context, unless you've been asked to nicely, you should always avoid using words like dude. I know with young people, that's how we roll, but those type of words in the professional context, unacceptable. Using words like guys, unless you've been asked and the situation allows, please avoid them. And don't forget that when you type an email, using capital letters is actually a way of expressing frustration and shouting in a professional world. So always avoid those as part of brand communication around your personal brand. So this is very important when, for example, you are given a task by your senior in a professional context. Words like, I'll try, I'll see what I can do. Unacceptable. It doesn't point to a positive light about your brand. You know, when you are given a task, show the enthusiasm. Don't just say, oh, I'll try, I'll see what I can do. We can't take you seriously. You know, rather say, I'm not sure, I haven't done this before, but I'm going to give it the best effort. And where I'm not succeeding, I can always come back to you. There's something in that tone that showcases that you acknowledge that you are not there yet, but you're going to give it your best. And hopefully it will turn out the way that your manager or supervisor wants it to be. Professional communication. I'll try. Not acceptable. Using words like SHIT to express your frustration over a person or a situation, unacceptable. I know it's okay there at res and on campus, in the cafeteria. In the professional context, it's not advisable for you to use such words. Rather use something like, oh my goodness, anything, just avoid such words to express your frustration. Your CV is your representation in your absence. When you are not there, your CV speaks for you. So make sure that it is well put together. Get a second opinion on the grammar, the spelling, because that's a document that represents you before you are even invited for an interview. Maybe, just maybe, that's why many of us don't get invited for interviews, because they look at that CV and it's just got spelling errors and they just throw it in the bin. I don't know, I'm just thinking. So make an effort that document that represents your personal and professional brand is well put together, and just maybe you may get that call for an interview. So it's very important as part of building our professional brands. Ladies and gentlemen, This talk is not in any way suggesting that by following these tips, you are going to land your dream jobs. It's not meant to address the challenge of youth unemployment in our country, because that's an elephant, a big elephant that we can't kill in one day. But just maybe these small efforts on our part in taking our personal brands seriously can convince those people in positions to give us opportunities to start taking us seriously. If we also show that we are taking ourselves seriously in the way that we behave on social media, in the way that we carry ourselves as personal brands, just maybe you may just get that phone call inviting you for an interview. So start taking yourself seriously as brands, and maybe, just maybe, we can address this issue of youth unemployment, because as much as we speak about youth unemployment, we should also start seriously ourselves talking about youth employability. What are we doing ourselves to show the world that we are employable, that we deserve opportunities? Take yourself seriously so that others can take you seriously. I repeat, no one wants to associate their hardware and brands that have been built over a long time with people who are just going to be entitled to opportunities without showing the hunger and the determination to do so. So let's start taking ourselves seriously as well. Just maybe the people out there who are in positions of authority and influence and have got the opportunities that we're looking for us to make a contribution in this world can start taking us seriously. So I hope that this talk has left a mark in your life. It is in no way comprehensive to dealing with the issue of branding, but because of time, I am going to stop here, and I hope that we can have more of these sessions upon invitation to discuss further based on your feedback, of course. But yeah, there are experts out there. You can go onto social media. Again, use social media to empower yourself. Everything that I've mentioned, you can just Google it and learn more about how do you brand yourself as a person. How do you make yourself stand out from the crowd? How do you make yourself appealing and persuasive to those who are in positions to give you opportunities? So because of data has not fallen, I am going to stop here and hope that I have left some mark in your life. And as they say, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. So I hope that with a bit of information that I've shared with you from my personal journey, which has helped me to get to where I am today, you can also pick up something that you can use in your own journey to reach the dreams and aspirations that you have. And as we say in Promaths, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow or next year, but kancane kancane, bit by bit, with these small efforts applied consistently, sizophumelela, we'll get there. Dear African child, kancane kancane sizophumelela. Death shall not find us where poverty left us. And I thank you.